Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swing and a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, your host, joined tonight by Scott Geirman of DodgerBlue.com. Scott, today we're talking about a trade that most Dodger fans would soon like to forget, the Yordan Alvarez trade. It's back in the news. Houston front and center as part of the World Series. Jorge Castillo of the Jorge Castillo had a piece in which he was talking about Yordan Alvarez and going over some of the details of this type of thing. If you remember, Yordan Alvarez, international free agent, signed by the Dodgers for $2 million. 2 weeks later was traded to the Houston Astros in exchange for reliever Josh Fields. As Alvarez was recalling this trade, he couldn't remember how long he had there. Again, Castillo points out that it was 2 weeks. He remembers working out on the field twice in shorts and a t-shirt. He never wore a uniform. He never played a game. It was a short chapter in his life. Quote, I was happy when they told me about the trade. I knew people in West Palm Beach, Florida. I knew the Astros were going to construct a complex there, so I was happy. Scott, I'll start here, and then we can get into the trade itself. I mean, I feel like it's important context. The guy never wore a Dodgers uniform. Yes, they paid for him, but he never actually made it to the United States for the Dodgers. And I feel like that gets lost sometimes in the shuffle here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we can break it down however what you want, and if you want me to give my reaction on it, it stinks. It sucks. Yeah. But if you look at it outside of it and you really, take the emotion away and how you wish that he was with the Dodgers, you look at Yordan, what he was. He was, 18-year-old kid. He was an unknown. He didn't have a position. There were, concerns about his power. He was still developing. And at that time, you don't even know. You look at Yordan, he didn't even know about the trade. So at that time, it's unfortunate, but a lot of these young players, they're pieces, and they're people first, but they're trade pieces, and you can make as many projections as you want about it. But at the time, he was just a huge unknown.
And can I zag slightly on the general narrative? Josh Fields was pretty good for the Dodgers. 2.61 ERA over parts of 3 seasons. I'm not saying he was amazing, but it's not like the Dodgers got a guy that was total trash. He was pretty good, all right for the Dodgers, 2.61 ERA. But here's kind of where I wanted to go, Scott. As I was prepping for this, I went back and did some digging on trades that Andrew Friedman has made, because I feel like the Yordan Alvarez, the O'Neill Cruz trade, which we'll talk about as well, those are the two that everyone points to like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Dodgers did this. What a massive failure. What a mistake. And of course, in a vacuum, absolutely trading Yordan Alvarez, trading O'Neill Cruz for a pair of relief pitchers in Tony Watson and Josh Fields, separate trades, is an absolute disaster when you look at those two. But as I did some digging, Scott, there were 30, I would say, substantial trades that the Dodgers have made, trades that have impacted the Dodgers at a major league level since Friedman took over in 2014, okay? And we could sit here and say, was it Farhan Zaidi? Was it Andrew Friedman that made the trade? I'm just going to go ahead and say Andrew Friedman has final veto power on any trade one way or the other. He's made 30. By my count, Scott, I count 19 of those being massive Dodger wins by a wide margin. I count 8 of those being slight Dodger wins. And I count 3 of them being anywhere from a slight loss to a massive loss. So we're talking about a 90% success rate on these. Now, let me throw some names at you. We're just going to get nerdy here, and I'll just run through the 19 massive ones just to give you some context, okay? This is going back to 2014. Matt Kemp for Yasmani Grandal, huge win for the Dodgers. The trade that brought them Andrew Heaney, Kike Hernandez, Austin Barnes, Chris Hatcher in exchange for D. Gordon, Miguel Rojas, and Dan Herron. That's a big win. We've got the Alex Wood trade. I won't filter through all these, but Alex Wood comes over in exchange for Hector Olivera and Paco Rodriguez. Obviously, Chris Taylor for Zach Lee. We've got Logan Forsythe for Jose De Leon. I thought Jose De Leon was going to be good. Never amounted to anything. Tony Cingrani for Scott Van Slyke. Some of these, again, minor deals, but I mean, Cingrani and Forsythe were like major league players. Yeah. The Yu Darvish trade, Calhoun, Brendan Davis, and AJ Alexi for Yu Darvish. That's a massive win for Friedman. Scott Alexander basically acquired for nothing. Dylan Floro basically acquired for nothing. How about the Manny Machado trade? Yusniel Diaz, Dean Kramer, Zach Pop, Brevich Valera, and Rylan Bannon. I'd say that's a big win for the Dodgers. Brian Dozier, Logan Forsythe going the other way with Luke Raley, who's going to make an appearance later, and Smeltzer, another win. David Freese for nothing. They get Josiah Gray and Jeter Downs for the Puig, Kemp, Alex Wood, Kyle Farmer, poo-poo platter, so that's a massive win. Adam Kolarek for nothing. The Mookie Betts trade. Enough said there. Alex Vesia and Kyle Hurt in exchange for Dylan Floro. Matt Beatty for River Ryan. Trace Thompson acquired this year for nothing. I would say the Zach McKinstry for Chris Martin trade was a massive win. So that's 19 trades that I would say the Dodgers massively won. And just while we're here, let me give you 8 slight wins. I would say Andrew Heaney for Howie Kendrick. Heaney turned into a nice piece. He was a prospect. Howie Kendrick played real innings, and Heaney never really amounted. I count that as a win for the Dodgers. Acquiring Frankie Montas, Trace Thompson, and Micah Johnson for Jose Peraza and Scott Schiebler. Montas, on paper, didn't really pitch well for the Dodgers, but I would say that's a win for them. The Rich Hill in exchange for Frankie Montas trade, I say that's a win for the Dodgers just because of what Rich Hill brought to them. Matt Kemp coming back the second time, he was good for them. They exchanged a bunch of contracts, got Kemp, he was good. Russell Martin for nothing. Brusdar Graterol for Kenta Maeda. I count that as a slight win for the Dodgers. Scherzer and Trey for Ruiz and Josiah Gray. And then we've got Mitch White for Nick Frasso. Frasso's a prospect. So that's 27 trades. The only other one that I would consider a loss is Clayton Beater for Joey Gallo. And for all we know, Clayton Beater turns out to be nothing. So I just threw a zillion names at you, Scott, but take that wherever you want to take that.
Sure. Yeah, that's the trade game. But the two that people love to bring up, and these are young stars that are performing, O'Neal Cruz, Yordan Alvarez. What did they trade for?
Yeah, Tony Watson for O'Neal Cruz and Yordan Alvarez for Josh Fields.
They traded for relief pitchers, and this is why they don't like trading for relief pitchers. They, smart general managers around the league, for all the crap that the Pirates get, their organization, evaluators can evaluate, and you can project out, talent and just how someone's physical, how they're going to project out. So that's that type of thing. O'Neal Cruz can carry there. He's just a humongous man playing shortstop, all the talent in the world, crazy exit velo, arm strength, you name it. But that's why trading for relief pitchers is just such a volatile area to go with. And that's why the Dodgers don't like to do it. They like to keep that in-house and, build it themselves, not have to give the team an advantage of, we know you need this reliever, and now you're going to give us a grab bag, or you're going to let us pick from, different prospects. And that's essentially what the Astros did with Yordan Alvarez. They called the Dodgers, and they said, he texted Andrew Friedman or texted Farhan and said, it was almost a little mix up. You can check out that story on DodgerBlue.com, but that was almost for Yadier Alvarez. And that was a little bit of a snafu. That's an interesting tidbit to that story. But yeah, that's just, reliever market's really volatile. I wouldn't even touch that, if they're trying to really pick up a high upside prospect.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, I guess the point I'm trying to make is when you look at this in totality, even if they give up Yordan and even if they give up O'Neal Cruz, if you look at all that they have brought back in the grand sum, like if you put all 30 of these trades into one bucket and say you get these 30 guys and you give up these 30 guys, obviously those numbers aren't accurate. Like the Dodgers have come out way ahead. Like when they made the Manny Machado trade, the Yu Darvish trade, those types of trades, they were giving up top high-end prospects. None of those guys have panned out. They have picked the right guys to give away 90% of the time. So my point is, if you go 9 out of 10, even if the 10 is a huge miss, I still think we can't crush Andrew Friedman for this trade, because in the grand scheme of things, looking at all of these, the Dodgers have come out way ahead. And I would even argue on some of the relief pitcher trades. Like look at the Alex Vesia trade. Yep. Look at when they got Dylan Floro the first time and then they flipped him for even more. Look at when they got a guy like Chris Martin. So I think they've done. Even Tony Cingrani was like a really good pitcher for the Dodgers for a year and a half. So they've gotten guys on relief pitcher. I understand what you're saying. Like the upside on a relief pitcher is going to be minimal. But I guess, yes, we can sit here and say, oh man, I wish we had Yordan Alvarez. I wish we had O'Neal Cruz. Of course. But the name of the game is you have to take some risks. The irony of what you just said is the Yadier Alvarez mix-up. At the time, if they said, we want Yadier Alvarez, the Dodgers would have said, no chance. You can have Yordan. You can't have Yadier. Of course, now, Yadier Alvarez, who was like the top international guy at the time, has basically completely flamed out, never even made it to the major leagues, got DFA'd by the Dodgers, and then re-signed off the 40-man. Nobody wanted him. So it just goes to show you, especially in the international free agent game, it's even a more risky, sort of a more unknown investment.
Without a doubt, yeah, and you just like you said, the totality of all Andrew Friedman's moves. What other general manager around the league besides possibly down south of the Padres has traded for as many big time superstars as Andrew Friedman? You just don't have it, and that with this less impact on your prospect depth, it's unbelievable. Andrew Friedman, the trade with the Red Sox, where that hasn't affected them at all.
No, Jeter Downs was terrible this year.
So, I really hope that, former Dodger prospects do well.
Yeah.
But Andrew Friedman has done an incredible job with minimalizing prospect depth impact from trades, aside from the ones that only the big hits are ones people know about. Other than that, you don't hear anything about him. You don't hear anything about the people they traded for Manny Machado. You don't hear anything about people who traded for Mookie Betts. So Andrew Friedman's a wizard. I don't care what anybody says. You can knock them all you want about, Yordan. Sure, that's a miss. Absolutely. I won't dispute that. But that's just a diamond in the rough. It happens. Nobody go all the way far back to Pedro Martinez. Yeah. Was it Delino DeShields?
Yeah.
Something like that. It's just, it happens. It happens. That's the name of the game.
If you hit 9 out of every 10 trades, which is, I'm making the case that Andrew Friedman is hitting 9 out of every 10 trades, and 8 of those 9 are like lopsided wins, and 1 of the 9 is a slight win, and the 1 out of 10 is a massive loss, you'll take those every single day. And so, yes, Yordan Alvarez back in the news, and people are reliving the massive mistake that the Dodgers made. But just remember the 9 other risks that Andrew Friedman took, all of which have panned out massively. Like you said, Darvish acquired essentially for a bunch of guys that didn't pan out. Manny Machado acquired for a bunch of guys that didn't pan out. Mookie Betts acquired so far for a couple of guys who haven't really panned out. And even the Trey Turner, Max Scherzer trade. Like so far, Josiah Gray and Keibert Ruiz haven't turned into much. I mean, they might be league average players, which is fine, but they're not going to be all-stars. It doesn't seem at the moment. And all of those are massive, massive wins for Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers. So there you go. That's Scott Geirman. My name is Jeff Spiegel. As always, we appreciate you joining us here at DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. Enjoy the rest of your day. And, of course, go Dodgers and go Phillies.